basically in this section, we wrote this scripts.sh file together, and then we defined one function right here. So we talked about how we can define functions. We talked about how we can define variables. For example, I can say my var equals, for example, 100, and then I can reference this variable later on by just simply saying this $sign and then my var. So when we're defining our variables, we can just define them like this, but when we want to reference them later on, we have to use the $sign. But wouldn't it be nice to have access to these things in all of our shells? So right now, I have this function and I can call it as many times as I want in this current file. So in this script, I can just say my func. Just like that we can define a function in JS and then call it, we can do the same thing right here, right? But I don't have access to this right here in my shell. But what can we do to have access to this thing or to our variables in all of our shells? Now I can go ahead right now and run these scripts. So I can say scripts. And it might seem logical that now we're going to have access to this my func, but well, we don't. So this function is not being exported. And I have a problem somewhere that says line 6, 100 command not found. Well, yeah, I just have to maybe echo it. Okay, when we reference it, we can't just reference a variable, it doesn't make sense. We have to maybe echo it or do some math or just do something with it. Anyway, so now I have this function, I also ran my file, but I still don't have access to that my func. Okay, it tells me the command not found. Now, if you want to have access to these things all the time, you just have to include this sh file. Now remember that we said that Bash is just a programming language. And just like many other programming languages, you can include stuff. In Node, we can just simply say const something require. We can do the same thing in Bash. And the way that we can include things is using the source command. So we can just say source. Now, more specifically, this source is a built-in function. So we can just say source and then specify our file. Just like that, it's going to run it. And then it's going to take all the functions and variables and aliases and put them in the current shell. So now I can just say my func and it works. So this is how we can include things using this source. Now there's also a quicker way to do it. This source is also abbreviated in a lot of cases, just dot. So you can just say dot and then scripts. This is the exact same thing. This dot just means source because sourcing, it's a really common thing in Bash. And then we have this really nice thing that we can just do and then specify our files. And then those files will be executed. And then we will take out 3 things from these files. So 3 things will be exported from these files and then put in our current shell. The first thing that's going to be exported, well, is function. All the functions that I'm going to have, they will be all put in the current shell. And then the next one is variables. So now I can say echo and then my var, and I have access to it because I said source scripts.sh or just simply dot scripts.sh. Now if I also define an alias right here, so if I say alias and then maybe run p, and this alias would be this one, so node and then playground.js. If I just say run p right now, it's not found. And also if I run my scripts and then run p again, it's still not found. But if I source it, if I say source or dot scripts.sh, now I'm going to be able to say run p and it will work just fine. Okay. So sourcing is a really important and really useful thing in Bash because now we can divide our Bash scripts into different files and then include them. And when we do that, those files will be run and all the functions, variables, and aliases will be made available in the new shell. Now this source that we're doing, if I get its type, so type of source, it's just a built-in function. Same thing for type of dot. Well, these two are exactly the same thing. It's also a shell built-in function. Now type itself, it's also a shell built-in, okay? All right, so that's it about this quick video and sourcing in Bash. And again, remember, when you source something, you're going to get all the functions, variables, and also aliases. Okay, now that you know this, we are now getting one step closer to talk about why we're not able to run LL right here. So in the next video, we're going to now talk directly about this topic. All right, so I will see you in the next one.